you tell us a bit about yourself? Where are you from? What was it like growing up?
Growing up, I think we were a typical Punjabi joint family. A lot of fun with siblings, cousins. A lot of pressure on me for education. And I think it was just too much brought upon me because the other three were only playful and adventurous lot. But I loved studying as well, so I think it was good. I had a very, very strong passion looking at my grandfather when it comes to service. He was a doctor and he used to run free clinics twice a week. And the passion with which he used to run those free clinics made me feel that yes, there's something I want to do. Maybe I don't want to be a doctor, but I want to see what I can do to improve people's lives. Hence, healthcare became a choice for me as a profession. And spent all my life post-school in just trying to become better at it, landing to where I am today.
So, what is your idea of having a fun weekend?
My idea of a fun weekend is one, spending time with my son. Because we both leave for work and school together. By the time I'm back home, he's sleeping. So I try to spend as much time with him during the weekends. I love going out for meals, trying new cuisines. So you take me to a new restaurant that's open in the city, that to me is going to be great. I love watching movies as well. So to me, it's weekend is about taking us, a step back, spending time with family, enjoying a good meal, maybe ending it with a good movie.
Wow. So what's your favorite cuisine?
Asian. I love Asian through and through. You take me to any part of the world, people crave for Indian food, I crave for Asian food.
You have any place to suggest in Delhi?
Well, many. Tell me where I will take you all out.
What are some habits or practices you've adopted that have contributed to your continuous improvement?
So I think personal growth is a journey. It's not really a goal. I think if anybody wants to keep growing, the only way around it is to be open to learning. And I think one learns from everyone and everything around them. I will learn from my peers, I will learn from my seniors, I will learn from my juniors, I learn from my family, I learn from my son. And we keep learning. I think you just have got to keep your mind open to the concept of absorbing whatever comes your way. I think that's what contributes. People talk about, which are the self-help books to read. People talk about, experiences of others. Yes, of course. I think one should read books which, expose you to experiences of others. But to me, the experiences that we go through ourselves. So to me, if you ask me things that one should do for personal growth, one, you should travel. You should meet new people, as many as you can. Whoever is around you, your ecosystem, whether it's work, family, observe them, see what they do, and embrace life. I think life is the best teacher. So for me, my own personal motto of personal growth being just embrace life as it is, and you keep learning through the way. We should not box ourselves that these are 2 hours in a week that I'm going to keep for personal growth because I'm going to go attend a conference or I'm going to read a book. Yes, it's a part of the whole process. So I think personal growth is a journey by embracing life. If I have to put it in the summary.
So what do you think of making mistakes?
I think making mistakes is good. It just allows you to give yourself the space to experiment. So I think there's nothing wrong about making mistakes as long as you consider them to be a part of learning and not a way of life. So I am all pro for making mistakes. But yes, like I said, we need to know whether we're making permanent or temporary mistakes.
How has your professional journey been like this far?
So my interest in healthcare stemmed from my proximity to my grandfather and his passion. So I started off my career, frankly, being a scientist of sorts. That's how it all began for me in the UK. After finishing my postgrad, I spent the initial years literally as a scientist in the lab. And then I realized that while this is all very interesting, it's a little sort of disconnected from my passion because what I felt for healthcare was that I wanted to do things at scale. And being in the lab, one, felt a little disconnected from my personal interests and also from the larger things that I wanted to do. And that's when I moved on the management side of things and moved into healthcare management. So while I was in the UK and the early parts of my career back in India was spent in healthcare management across pharmaceuticals, biopharmaceuticals, And then I ended up in my last organization where I spent around 12 years, literally building up an organization grounds up, because when I joined them, they were in a startup phase. And the concept was very, very novel. It was a corporate banking space, something that people were not very strongly aware of. So I spent those initial years with my last organization literally building a category, and then pivoted within the organization in bringing out a new business, which was the diagnostics business, something that I grew very fond of. Again, seeing the impact that it had on the number of lives across the country. I became the CEO at the organization in 2017, and I think after spending around 12 years there, I realized that I wanted to now move on to something else in life. And it was around that time when I got introduced to Rajat and Tara, and frankly got introduced to the concept of senior care and the entire ecosystem that it's built off. And I found it very, very interesting. My discussions with Rajat and Tara started in September of last year, and it took quite a few back and forth and discussions before I frankly came on board. But to me, after my last assignment, this seemed like a strong, natural extension of what I wanted to do. The industry attracted me immensely because of the potential it holds, and also the kind of customer segment that we're targeting, their needs, their sensitivities towards care. So I'm very excited about what lies ahead for me.
So at times we do get a feeling of self-doubt. How do you navigate self-doubt?
I think one is to embrace it. It's very important to accept that we're experiencing this phase of self-doubt, because I have seen in personal experiences and of experiences of others that people tend to keep brushing it aside. We don't really embrace that we're going through a phase of self-doubt. So to me, that is the first step. And the second step is to start talking about it, not in a public forum, but you need to identify people in your lives, and if you don't have, I would say one should seek professional help as well when one is going through a period of self-doubt. Because what it can do is that if it's not addressed the right way, it can sort of prompt us to make certain mistakes that we can avoid. It can probably put us on a direction that we really didn't want to be. So I think to me what has helped addressing self-doubt, and I've gone through periods of it multiple times in my life, is to work with the right mentors. And I would say I've been blessed to have large number of very good mentors that I have associated with, who guided me. And these mentors don't really need to be large industry leaders, but people who you can just talk to and they will give you genuine opinion. And that has frankly worked for me beautifully. So to my advice to anybody who's experiencing self-doubt is, one, embrace it and then talk about it to the right people. And one will realize that, it's not such a difficult problem to solve.
Do you ever experience burnout, and how do you handle it?
First is, I think burnout happens in toxic work cultures. It is a given. Because what happens there is your reward recognition systems are not aligned. Either you're not aligned to your manager or you're not aligned to your peers. I think it triggers burnout a lot. And not only in an employee but in an organization as a whole. And frankly, I've been part of such organizations where, because of the way the whole organization is structured, burnout just becomes a way of life. I think burnout also happens when you're doing something against your own conscience and instinct. If you're pushed to do something you don't believe in, if you're pushed to do something that you don't want to do, you will tend to get burnt out faster. I also think burnout happens in instances when we're not aligned with our managers. Because for good or for bad, in our workplaces, the relationship between an employee and his or her manager is a very critical one. And I feel instances where that relationship is well aligned and very well oiled, the chances of burnout are lesser. But in instances when that relationship is full of friction, when there's lack of understanding, I think it leads to more burnout. And to me, these are also the reasons that I have sort of worked upon to ensure that I do not put myself in those situations as much as possible. But to say that I don't experience burnout even now would be a lie. I think I keep identifying new reasons why I get burnt out. But I feel, and that's again my advice in general, is that one should not associate burnout with the quantum of work, but one should try to look into reasons beyond that when we experience burnout.
So do you believe in taking breaks in between?
I think yes, and breaks are not only important to avoid burnouts. I think breaks are also important because our mind needs to sort of reset. We need to ensure the breaks don't need to be into a number of ways as well. A weekend, for example, is a good break if one can, give ourselves that time. Because when we come out of what we are doing, when we move ourselves into a different mental space, when we are with nature or we're with family, thinking about something else, that's when, at least to me, a lot of solutions to problems we are facing suddenly come up. Because if we keep thinking about things, it leads to a mental burnout. We just reach a plateau of what we can do. So to me, breaks are important therefore for various reasons. And yes, I do feel that one should take breaks. We're humans, we're not machines. Even machines need downtime. So we all should use downtimes as much as we can.
So balancing personal and professional life is challenging sometimes. How do you manage your work-life balance? What would be your suggestion on this?
I think this is a topic which has been talked about immensely these days, work-life balance. So I remember a story about my grandfather again. And this was in 2011 when I had just sort of come back to India, and I lost him in 2012. When I came back to India, and we were having this discussion was just triggering around, work-life balance. So the question, when I asked him what he thinks about it, because he was forever working, he said, the question is wrong. He said it should not be a question about work-life balance, because he says work is life. So if you say work-life balance, you're separating work from your life. Work is a part of your life. So the question should be about either work-play balance, or it should be about work-vacation balance. But he said the question of work-life balance itself is wrong, because we have to accept it's a fact that a large part of our existence, maybe post our mid-20s or 30s, is about work, whether we like it or not. It takes a dominant share of our lives. So he said, if you ask me work-play balance, yes. And I think it varies from individual to individual. So I think there's no one-size-fits-all at all. We just have to make sure, we are working in a space that we are happy, because that's when the work-life balance or the work-play balance just becomes more easier to handle, because you don't end up coming back from work feeling all dodgy about the whole day. So I think one is be in a happy place so that you consider work as work and not stress. And second is work out on calendars, work out on systems that work for you. And hopefully your organization, your managers and employers should support that.
If you could turn back time and meet your younger self, what is the one piece of advice you'd give?
Many, because I think we are all intelligent in hindsight. So clearly I will have a lot to tell my younger self. But one thing that I would tell myself is that it's okay to be wrong at times. I think if I consider my younger self, I put a lot of pressure and stress on me about being wrong about certain things. I used to take it upon me very, very seriously. But now when I look back, the one big thing I would tell my younger self is that it's okay to not know what's right at times. It's okay to let life take its own course. But yeah, beyond that also there will be multiple things. But this is one thing I would really want to tell my younger self, that it's okay to not know what's going to happen in the next 1 year of your life. And life takes you where it needs to.
What is your one line of philosophy in life you live by?
To be very frank, my one line of philosophies have been changing through my life. So I wouldn't say there is a one-liner that has stayed with me forever. long back there used to be the one that I used to live by was live life king size. But frankly now, today, for me the one-liner that means the most to me is actually just 3 words. It just is never say never. And why is it something that sticks to me is because maybe the last 5 years or so, I've begun to realize that one should never say never to anything because we do not know what life has in store for us. There have been instances when I have said, I'm never going to work in this industry, and I've ended up doing that. I have said to myself, I'm never going to work in this geography, and I've done that. I have said to myself, I'm never going to work with these kind of people, and I've done that. So I think to me, life has taught me never say never. Be open, be accepting of what life is all about, and accept that there's uncertainty, accept that you don't know, right? Which I talked about my lessons to the earlier self, is that uncertainty is a part of our life. And we should be open to all experiences. We should be open to what comes our way. So to me, my current motto, and maybe it changes a few years down the line, is never say never.
Since you mentioned that you're a movie buff, what are your top 3 movies that you'd suggest our viewers to watch?
So, okay, I'm going to talk about from both the ones that have stayed with me for what the movies sort of really meant, and also the fact that I just like them for the way they were. And for me, the movie that really stayed with me was The Pursuit of Happiness. I'm assuming a lot of people would have watched it. But to me, that journey of that father and son, the ups and downs, and a lot of downs that they go through, and that, never say die attitude, fighting against all odds. I think there are a lot of movies that have talked about it, but the intensity with which one, displayed that in the movie through Will Smith's character was something that really stood out for me. The other movie, which I really like, and I think I've watched 2 times or more, is The Shawshank Redemption. And it's just for the sheer cinematic brilliance that it is. And the third movie that I really liked was Good Will Hunting. And I think most people would have watched these movies. They are sort of blockbusters in their own right. But to me, the cinematic experience again of Good Will Hunting, of those 2 characters, was absolutely amazing. So I would certainly suggest for those who have not watched either of these 3 movies to certainly go out and watch them. They're amazing experiences.
Last question, where do you see Antara in the next 10 years?
Okay. I would say 10 years. I hope in the next 2 years. I see Antara as being a very strong national, maybe an international brand that resonates with anything and everything that a senior wants, needs, or cares for. Antara has to be the brand that comes to my mind when I think about senior care.